Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Jake Gordon and Alex Lord. It's time of the day for our Just Stop Tweeting moment. So Anand Nanduri of the Player Profile said one of the most ridiculous things I have ever seen someone say when talking about football in any aspect. I don't care if it's high school football, pro football, college football, pee-wee football. I don't care what it is, XFL. He says, even if Bijan Robinson is still a Hall of Famer, this is still a bad pick. Alex, give me your thoughts on that since you just wrote about it on the site. Once again, guys, if you haven't visited the site, sportstalkatl.com, all this content that we talk about, all the videos can be found there.
Yeah, this guy's just, it's very obvious what he's doing. He's just thinking too hard, or he's just trying to, get attention for being ridiculous. Because I think everything should be talked about in a scope of if you were talking in front of like a Mike Tomlin, Andy Reid, a Bill Belichick, one of these guys who's been around football their entire lives, their first ballot Hall of Fame coaches know more about, they've forgotten more about football than we could ever learn. And if you said that to them, they would look at you like you had three heads. Let's just think about it. You're saying because he's a non-premium position, running back, we can all agree picking a running back in the top 10 is probably not the best route to win a Super Bowl. I'm not arguing that. But to say it's still a bad pick if he's a Hall of Famer is just trying too hard. You're being too nerdy. These analytics are getting to your head. You're just not watching football anymore. You're just looking at football in ones and zeros. You're forgetting about there's men who play this sport that will and heart matter. And these things matter in the NFL. He's just trying to simplify it to ones and zeros, and running backs aren't worth it. We should have taken, Christian Gonzalez, a premium position, yet that guy went in the middle of the first round. So this guy's he's facing tons of backlash, and rightfully so. This was one of the worst takes. Hey, I'm a hot take machine. I spew them all day long. I don't care if I look dumb later on, but this is egregious. This guy deserves to be ridiculed.
I just don't understand. Like, yeah, you're definitely just doing too much. Like, if you'd said Pro Bowler or maybe even All Pro, I'd be like, okay, whatever. I do understand what you're saying. Hall of Fame? The NFL Hall of Fame is like really hard to get into, right? Like, we're not talking about basketball. Like, basketball Hall of Fame, they consider your college, your high school, all that stuff. But yeah, no, that one was a little strange to me. It's funny too because it reminds me of this argument that I've heard a few times, and I think it's really interesting. So, like, say Justin Tucker. 21-year-old Justin Tucker, you know exactly who he is. Let's just say you know exactly who this guy is, what he's going to become as a kicker. I think you take him in the first round. If you're a really good team, maybe not at the 8th pick. If you're a really good team,
if the Chiefs had the opportunity to take Justin Tucker instead of Clyde Edwards-Helaire a couple years ago after their Super Bowl, they would absolutely have taken him.
Well, and I don't even think you can limit it to just Clyde Edwards-Helaire because he is a running back. So he would be like, oh, that guy's a running back. Positional value is like the same as a kicker or something stupid like that. If you go look at the 32nd pick in every draft of the last 10 years, Justin Tucker is probably better than 9 of them. I mean, that's just the reality.
Besides Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. But I'm just spitballing here, but it's probably true. And then you also can't look at this in the scope of, oh, there's going to be 4 Hall of Famers drafted after Bijan Robinson. Yeah, but what are the odds you're going to take them? What about the 5?
Also, that's so hindsight.
Yeah. You can't look at it in that scope. And there was a perfect example. Someone laid out to me. The Panthers took Christian McCaffrey 8th overall, I think in 2017. And he's like, I actually kind of see where he's coming from. Like, Christian McCaffrey could be a Hall of Famer. I'm like, well, one, I don't think Christian McCaffrey had a Hall of Fame career with the Panthers. He didn't. Especially because of injuries. Maybe if he didn't get injured. So basically, if you had Christian McCaffrey healthy for those 7 years instead of battling all those injuries, which is, I would say that would be a Hall of Fame career. That's what you're talking about in this hypothetical situation with Bijan Robinson. On top of that, the Panthers got all that production out of McCaffrey, which I think is still worth an 8th overall pick. And then they traded him for 4 more picks. They traded him for a 2nd, a 3rd, a 4th, and a 5th. 3 of them in the next draft. Yes, they would do that.
That's a good ROI. That's a good return on your investment.
10 times out of 10. And then it's you can look back at Christian McCaffrey's draft and find a guy that might be equal valuable, or because he responded back. I had this argument. He responded back, well, yeah, but then you could have gotten this guy, maybe gotten 2 first. I'm like, yeah, That guy was picked in the 4th round. You can't, that guy's not like you're not snagging him.
Why didn't we just draft Aaron Jones? Nobody was looking at Aaron Jones, my guy.
It's just it's so easy to go 2 years later and say, "Oh well, you should have done this." Okay, congrats, man. You're the smartest guy in the room. You have 2 years of evidence.
The facts are there is a chance there isn't a single Hall of Famer in this whole 1st round. Like there is a chance that happens, and at most there's probably going to be like 3.
Listen, let's not forget that this guy is probably just thinking in terms of like, how do we win a Super Bowl? Newsflash, winning a Super Bowl is nearly impossible. Only a couple quarterbacks do it, and they're the stars. Unless you have a superstar quarterback, you're probably not going to win a Super Bowl. We're trying to figure out if Ritter's the guy or not. In the meantime, let's give him an abundance of weapons. That way he has no excuse to fail.
Winning a Super Bowl validates everything that you've done to that point. Like, if it doesn't matter what you've done, it doesn't matter how many mistakes you made. If you win a Super Bowl, it's all good. Nobody cares.
Look at the Rams. The Rams are in a terrible position, but they would do it 10 times out of 10. Every team would do it 10 times out of 10.
Forever.
We're also talking about a draft in this year's draft that was really poorly regarded, especially like unless you got Bryce Young or CJ Stroud or something like that. Like no one was like in love with any of these prospects. Even Will Anderson, people found flaws in. Jalen Carter, obviously, people found flaws in. You're not going to tell me Tyree Wilson is this elite pass rushing prospect like we've seen with Khalil Mack and Von Miller and stuff like that. This was not a good 1st round. So if there was ever a draft to take the surefire Hall of Famer, it would be this one. But coming up after the break, we are going to talk about one of the Braves' rising stars and whether he could appear as soon as this year.